So let's just see how we can implement the main priority queue with the help of one array. So here we have the main priority queue. So in a main priority queue, we look for the item with the minimum priority. Here in the queue, the item 2 has the minimum priority. So that means in a minimum priority queue, the item with the minimum priority will be removed first. And then all the items after that will be shifted. So in a minimum priority queue, we can perform the operations like we can perform the enqueue operation. That means we can add new items at the end of the queue. So because we can simply add a new item at the end of the queue, so it has the time complexity of O1. Similarly, we have the dequeue operation. So in the dequeue operation, we have to look in our queue and we're going to look for the item with the lowest priority. So because of this, it has the complexity of On. And also we have the pick operation. So in a pick operation, we just simply found the item with the minimum priority and then we return the value of that item without removing that item. So let's just see how we can implement all of these operations using one array. So first of all, we have to define each individual item with the value and the priority. So here we have the structure. So in the structure, we're going to have the value of each item and the priority of each item. And then we're going to create one array of that priority queue type. And in that array, we're going to store all of these items. And also we're going to use one variable called size. So this will keep track of the number of items that we have in our main priority queue. So we are done with the definition of all the individual items. So let's now see how we can perform this enqueue operation. So this is the function to perform the enqueue operation. So the function will take the value and the priority of that new item. So before adding the new item, we have to check if the size of the priority queue is equal to the max size of the array. That means our queue is full. So in that case, we cannot add new items to our priority queue. So in that case, we're going to simply return. So otherwise, if we have the space, in that case, we're going to put the value of the item and the priority of that item in our array. And then we're going to increase the size of the priority queue. So that means a new item with the value and the priority will be added at the end of our main priority queue. So let's now see how we can perform the dequeue operation. So this is the function to perform the dequeue operation. So in the function, first of all, we're going to check if the size of the priority queue, if that is equal to 0, that means the priority queue is empty. So in that case, we're going to print queue is empty and then we're going to return. So otherwise, we're going to loop through that priority queue and we're going to look for the item with the minimum priority. So we're using one loop. So we're going to use one main priority index with the value 0. That means we are considering that the first item has the minimum priority. And then in each iteration of the loop, we're going to compare with the priority of the current item. So if we found any item with the minimum priority, then we're going to update our main priority index. So that means we're going to loop through all the items and we're going to update our pointer if we found any item with the minimum priority. Now at the end of this loop, our pointer will be pointing to the item with the minimum priority. And then we're going to get the value of that item in our variable min value. So here in this case, the item 3 has the minimum priority of 1. So that means we're going to get the value of that item. So we're basically removing this item from the main priority queue. And after the removal of this item, so we're going to shift all the items to the left. So we're going to use one loop and we're going to shift all the items to the left position. So here we're going to shift all the items to the left position. And also because we have removed one item from the queue, so we're going to reduce the size of the queue. And then at the end, we're going to return the value of that item. And this is the way we can perform the dequeue operation. So let's now see how we can perform the pick operation. So here is the function to perform the pick operation. So the pick operation will return the value of the item with the minimum priority without removing that item. So in the function, first of all, we're going to check if the size of the queue is 0, that means our queue is empty. So in that case, we're gonna return. Otherwise, so initially we're gonna consider that the first item has the minimum priority. So we're using this min priority index, which will initially point to 0. And then we're gonna use one loop and we're gonna compare the priority of each item. So if we found any item with the minimum priority, then we're gonna update our index. So at the end of this loop, our index will be pointing to the item with the minimum priority. And after the end of the function, we're just gonna simply return the value of the item with the minimum priority. So that means the value of this item will be returned. So here we have the code for the min priority queue. So we have the enqueue operation, we have the dequeue operation, and also we have this pick operation. So now inside the main method, first of all we're gonna enqueue. So we're gonna enqueue the item with the value 20 and priority 1. So we're gonna pass 20 and 1. So we have enqueued all the items in our priority queue. Let's just perform the pick operation. So we're gonna call the pick function. So the pick function will return the value of the item with the minimum priority. So here in the list we have the minimum priority of 1. So that means the value 20 will be returned. So here we have the output as 20. Now also we can perform the dequeue operation. So we have to call the dequeue function. So the dequeue function also going to return the value of the minimum priority item. So that means it will return 20. But also it will remove that item from the priority queue. So here also we are getting the output as 20. Now if we again perform the dequeue operation, so this time the minimum priority is 3. So we should get the output as 10. So here you can see we have the output as 10. So this is the way we can implement our min priority queue with the help of one array. So hope you understand the concept. See you in the next one. Take care.